It's actually pretty appropriate that I'm reviewing this figure immediately following my review of the Metal Gear Solid 3 Snake Eater figure from Hot Toys. It's no secret that Kojima was actually inspired by the 1981 film in Kurt Russell's version of Snake Plissken. In fact, in Metal Gear Solid 2, there is a figure, a mysterious figure, which later turns out to be Snake, of course, who was called Iroquois Plissken. That is kind of a nod to this cult classic that was actually really fantastic and in many ways very ahead of its time. I remember as a kid just looking at the box from Escape from New York going into the video store, I was immediately fascinated by the art. This post-apocalyptic dystopian version of New York really just captivated me and I couldn't wait to rent it. Of course, because of the rating of the film, I actually couldn't rent it on my own, so I kind of told a little fib to my dad and said that it was just a cartoon. I don't know, he really wasn't paying attention. He bought it, I rented the movie, and I was absolutely fascinated by it. There was something very unique and organic about the way that Kurt Russell acted. I really liked him in this film, he was really kick-ass, and even though it wasn't well received by the critics, it has since become a cult classic and a staple of science fiction in this genre. Not to mention that one of my favorite films, The Thing, was just amazing. I think Kurt Russell was fantastic in that. Interestingly, this figure has had another version. There is a Sideshow Collectibles version which I actually own and I've displayed for several years and never had a chance to review. So what I think I'm going to do is immediately following this review, I'm going to review the Sideshow version. And I apologize in advance, guys. I know that the thumbnail shows the rooted hair. I couldn't find a picture well enough for the thumbnail, so whatever. I did put a disclosure on there. This is the sculpted hair version, so no misdirection here, guys. It's simply just to make sure that I had a nice thumbnail. Now, full disclosure, initially when I took this out of the packaging, this thing scared the piss out of me. I'll explain why in a moment. Thankfully, I calmed down and everything was okay and right with the world. So today we're going to be reviewing Asmus Collectibles version of Snake Plissken from Escape from New York, the 1/6 scale figure. Let's take a closer look. You guys know how I feel about rooted hair. I generally don't like it because it looks too much like a doll, so I do prefer the sculpt. I was going to get the rooted hair to review it, but it was not sold on the concept, so whatever. I did get the sculpted hair, and it's perfectly recreated here. This is a beautiful hair sculpt. Not as much detail as I would like, but nevertheless it does look good. Eye patch looks fantastic, and this definitely is Kurt Russell. It's a good rendition. Not perfect, but it does the job, and I think it's very well done overall. I especially like the little details in the beard stubble and of course the eyes. They're not movable or anything like that, but it is what it is. For years, my biggest issue with the Sideshow Collectibles version is whether or not I wanted to put the leather jacket or leave him sleeveless. Fortunately, I have two versions now, so I can display it in both options. Now, the thing that scared the piss out of me about this is that initially when I took it out of the packaging, it had the arms that clearly had like the mechanisms to move them, and it looked horrible. I mean, the seam lines are just ridiculously ugly. Definitely want to put the jacket on it if you're going to display it like that. Now, the midsection has a lot of detail in terms of the walkie-talkie, the pouches work. I really like the armband, and it actually shows the timer because, as you know, they injected him with this like venom that's going to kill him if he runs out of time before he completes his mission. And then of course he's got the other gadget on the other arm. Really nice, and everything is fully functional. That's the really good thing. He's got the Mac 10 that collapses into the pouch. I mean, this just is very well done. Now, even though there are rubber arms here, they do look a little bit off and not as detailed as I would like, but overall it's pretty well done. Now, you do also get the, I think it's the tracker or the communicator. It's in his, I think it's his right arm, which is really nice. I do love the trousers on this one. So the actual field army pants, whatever he's wearing, look really cool. I love that that design. The boots are done very well and actually pretty malleable, so you can get some pretty dynamic poses with this figure. Be careful with those spikes on the tip of the boots. I pricked my finger, it actually made me bleed. You guys know this always happens. I literally bleed for my work, so whatever. But yeah, just be very careful of that because they're extremely sharp. Now, you don't necessarily have to reverse this, not too much detail on the reverse side, but you do get a greater appreciation of the hair sculpt, which is actually done very well. Surprisingly, there's a lot more detail on the reverse side than there is on the front. And the cool thing is it doesn't restrict the movement like other figures. It does have a waist grabber, and I don't really use the waist grabber when I can just lean it against the actual piece. You do see how he attaches to the base. There's a great sculpt on the boots on the reverse side, which looks really good, and of course the pouches on the reverse side. So overall, I think it's pretty well done, and you don't have to reverse it though. Now, obviously, Snake Plissken is packing heat, so he does have his revolver. I think that's a Magnum, I'm not sure of the nomenclature. Pretty nice finish on this. It's fully functional. You can rotate the cylinder, and of course he's got that massive scope on it, which is really cool. Obviously not that functional in the weapon. I want to give you a closer look of the actual tracker that he has, which is a really cool piece. Fits really well in the hand, by the way, so it's not a pain in the ass to take it off and on. And of course there is an image, some kind of sticker or something like that on the actual piece. So again, these are nice little details. Now the base I'm not as impressed with. I think they could have done something a little bit different in terms of the overall motif. From what I understand, there's like deluxe versions that have appendages that you can add onto it, including like the head of the Statue of Liberty or something like that. I didn't see that in the offerings, but it is there. Now on the lip of the base it does read Snake Plissken, and then you kind of see the skyline of New York, so to speak. And it does have the name of the manufacturer, which is really cool. The gravel kind of like motif on top of the base is very cheap and plasticky. It doesn't look very good. Wish they would have changed that. Now here's the extended Mac 10. Now this thing you can pull apart. The only thing about this, and it is incredibly detailed for its size, is that I didn't know which end to plug it into in terms of the silencer and the scope. Now the scope fits very well. The problem is the silencer, or the suppressor I should say, I couldn't figure out which end worked. It's very loose on one end and doesn't really plug in on the other one. So be very careful with this. Don't force it because you might break it. Now this is what scared the piss out of me. When I took this out of the packaging, it had these ugly, gaudy hands, arms, right? So to speak, and you can clearly see the seam lines. I mean, they look horrible, very mechanical. So if you're going to use these, I recommend that you use the jacket because you get full range of motion. Obviously, because of the seam lines, you can move it a lot more, but just use it with the jacket, guys. Otherwise, it's going to look horrible. Then you get the extended antenna for the actual walkie-talkie. Now here's the jacket. Obviously, I'm going to be displaying my figure without the jacket. This is very detailed. I might actually do a kit bash because I think I like this jacket a little more than the sideshow version. I'm going to have to really take a look. This one feels a little bit more premium than the sideshow one. It looks a little bit more worn. There's definitely a lot more scuffs on it, and there's a nice wash on it. So kit bashes you can do. I think I might swap this out and put this on the sideshow version since I like this jacket a lot more. Then we also get this, I guess it's a signpost, and it reads Escape from New York. Not sure about the color palette. I think they should have made this black instead of blue. It looks really weird. On the reverse side, it does have like this, I guess this felt, which is very soft. And of course, like some two Velcro stickers so that you can presumably place it somewhere. Doesn't fit on the base though, so I'm not exactly sure where this thing goes. Nevertheless, it's nice to have it. I'm sure you can come up with something. And of course, rounding out the last bit of accessories are 6 additional hands for various poses. Now, this is a very malleable figure. I only caution you is if you're using the full rubber arms, they look really weird. The skin does not breathe and does not flex very well. So I just put it in kind of like a stoic pose. I don't want any cracking or anything like that. But if you are going to use the arms that have the kind of like, extensions, so to speak, or the seam lines, you can get some really great poses. So right now, I'm not really sure which figure I like more, the sideshow version or this version. I guess I'll see when I review the other one and take a closer look. But overall, I do like this figure. It does have a few issues in terms of like accuracy and like premium materials. I think the materials that they use are pretty well done. I just think that the skin on the rubber parts with the arms are a little bit of a point of contention. But nevertheless, I do like this figure. Not a holy grail piece. If you have the sideshow one, you don't necessarily have to run out and get this one unless you want to display it in both modes. But you know what? I really like this figure. Alright everybody, so that's my official review on Asmus Collectibles' version of Snake Plissken from Escape from New York, the 1/6 scale figure. As always, I thank you for tuning in, and I'll see you on the next Raudeza Reviews.